Okay, good morning. We're learning Tractate Eruvin, chapter 7. The name of the chapter is Chalon. And we'll start off with the last of paragraph in page 77b2. It's a teaching of Rav Nachman in the name of Rabbi Menashe spoke about Sulam Sheshlivois of Pochos, which is a ladder with individual rungs. You can see the diagram. I guess it's a ladder with one almost looking like stairs. It has a post only on one side. If the bottom rung has a length of 4 tfachim, it reduces the height of the wall. If the bottom rung does not have a length of 4 tfachim, but the upper rung has a length of 4 tfachim, there is not a space of 3 tfachim between this rung and that rung, the top rung reduces the height of the wall. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ziz hayoytze min hakoisel, regarding a ledge that projects from a wall, dalad 4 by 4. V'niach al sulam kolshu, we place a sulam miatoy, it reduces the height of the wall. V'lamo lo'isra alei, we say that this only if he leaned the ladder against the ledge. Aval is about day, but if he leaned the ladder against the wall alongside the ledge, the top rung of the ladder widens the ledge, but does not connect it to its ground. Therefore, the ledge cannot reduce the height of the wall. So it has to be that he leaned the ladder against the ledge. Leaning the ladder against the wall is not sufficient in this case, the special ladder. A wall between the two chatzeros, it is 19 tfachim high, almost 100 inches. It needs only one ledge to permit the top of the wall to the resident of the chotzer. Showing you in the diagram, you see what the ziz, the protrusion, is. So needs only one ledge to permit the top of the wall to the resident of that chotzer. Koisel esrim, however, a wall with a height of 20 tfachim, requires 2 ledges to permit the top of the wall to the members of that chotzer. Amar Rav Chisda said, and this is true only if one position the 2 ledges not directly opposite one another, so that a ladder can be leaned from one ledge to the other. The Gemara has been discussing various methods of reducing the height of a wall that separates 2 chatzeros. The Gemara now digresses to present another instance of reducing the dimensions of an object. Amar Avuna, Amud b'Rishus Rabim. If a post stands in a public domain, and it's 10 by 4, 10 tfachim high, which is about 50 inches, and 4 tfachim wide, so 50 inches by 20 inches, approximately. And one wedged a peg of any size into the top of this post. Miato, the peg reduces the width of the post, rendering it mokem ptu, an exempt area. So you can have a post in the middle of a public domain, 10 by 4, and if you able to somehow insert a peg inside this post, you turned it into mokem ptu because it's now less than 10 by 4. The peg makes it less. Miatoy reduces it.
If not, the peg must be Yechid.
Yeah. Ravad Brava uvegavoya shlosh. Ravad Brava could be also Carmelis in certain cases. But let's say, turns it into Mokum P'tul. That's the... So, Amawad Rava V'Gavah Shlosho, and the peg must be 3 tefachim high. A shorter peg is considered a part of the surface of the post and does not reduce its height. So the peg has to be 3 tefachim high. Rava said even if it's not 3 tefachim high, it's still fine. It still reduces the height of the wall. The wall says my time. Since the part of the surface which is preempted by the peg is not usable, the entire surface cannot qualify as a shus hayochid. Even if the peg is 3 tefachim high, it does not render the top post into an exempt area. So this is exactly the opposite. Abaye and Rava, they said that even it's less than 3, it turns it into Mokum to exempt area. Ravashi says even if it's more than 3, it doesn't turn it into a Mokum 2. Why? So his reasoning is Efshar the Stoli Beimidi, because it's possible to hang something on the peg. Therefore, since the peg performs a function of the post, you can hang things on it. It's like putting a hanger. It is considered a part of the post and not something that detracts there from. It's not something that makes it, reduces its height. That's a reasoning of Ravashi. What was the reasoning of Abaye and Rava? That they said that even less than 3, it's effective. Lo mishtamish le.
Can leave that.
Because he said it's not usable. The entire, he said, Ravashi said it is usable because you can hang things on it. Therefore, he completely says the opposite. The Rava Ravashi says, Ravacha, the son of Rava, says to Ravashi, if one filled the entire top surface of the post with pegs, not one, you put many of them. What is the law? Do you consider the top of the post a shus hayochid even under these circumstances? You did not hear what Rabbi Yochanan said. A pit and its bank, I guess its rim, combined to the height of 10 tefachim. See, the earth excavated from the pit and piled around its mouth to form a bank. So that's part of the 10 tefachim. If you're digging a pit and you dug only 6 tefachim, but now the dirt that you took out from the pit is surrounding the top, it's now becoming 10 tefachim. If you, let's say it's 4 and you dug 6, you already... A pit and its bank combined to a height of 10 tefachim. Similarly, the pit and its bank combined to a width of 4 by 4, rendering the entire area of shus hayochid. So Ravashi explains Rabbi Yochanan's reasoning and its application to our case. But why is the surface of the bank considered a shus hayochid? The entire surface of the pit is not usable, since part of it contains the hollow area of the pit itself. Rather, what can you say to explain Rabbi Yochanan's ruling? The manach midei, that one can place something over the mouth of the pit, umishtamish, and make use of the entire surface width, since there is a way to use the entire width. The top of the bank is considered shus hayochid, even without the placement of a board. Rav Ashi concludes by drawing a parallel to the case of a post whose top is filled with pegs. So it's still usable. That was Rav Ashi's reasoning from the beginning. Why it's not reducing? Because it's usable. One can place something across the top of the pegs and make use of the entire area easily. Therefore, even if nothing will place the top of the pegs, the top of the post is still considered shusayochi. The Gemara returns to the subject of reducing the height of a wall that separates two chatzeros. A wall 10 tefachim high needs sulam, requires a ladder. It's very interesting. It tells you that if you have a wall 10 tefachim, you need a ladder 14 tefachim long to permit the chatzeros to join in a mutual eruv. The length allows the ladder to reach the top of the wall at a convenient angle, right? Because the wall is 10, you need it to be this 14. Even if the ladder is only 13 and a fraction tefachim long and reaches only to within a tefach of the top of the wall, meaning it doesn't have to reach all the way to the top, it can reach a little bit like this. If this is the wall, it reaches up to here. If it's 13.
It is effective.
By Sadirin 11. So it's 3 tefachim from the top. Even if the ladder is only 7 and a fraction tefachim long, it is effective. So far, Ravuna, in the name of Yeshua, is the most lenient opinion.
Why 7 is okay? You go under the wall.
I'm sure it says Ravuna maintains that even a vertical ladder effectively reduces the height of the wall. Furthermore, he agrees with Abaye that the ladder must reach only to within 3 tefachim of the top of the wall. For a wall 10 tefachim high, a ladder slightly longer than 7 is sufficient. So Rashi says. But think about it, we said yesterday that even 4 tefachim platform should be enough.
Yeah.
4 tefachim platform does not make you comfortable on the top, but still it says it's sufficient. So let's see. Amarav sulam zakum mamayit. A ladder in a vertical position reduces the height of a wall within 10 tefachim. Gemara is a tradition that Rav said, received from my teachers, but I do not understand the reason why such a ladder is effective, since it is not easily climbed. Shmuel said in surprise, and Abba does not know the reason for this law. It is similar to a case of a platform erected atop another platform, which effectively reduces the height of the wall, even though a vertical ascent was needed to reach the upper platform. We want to discuss additional methods of reducing the height of the wall. The Babylonian palm trees that are placed against the base of the wall, although they may be moved on the Shabbos, keva does not need to be attached to the ground in order to reduce the height of the wall. My timer, what is the reason that these sections of trunks effect reduction, even though they may be moved on Shabbos? Because their heaviness attaches them to their place. Like we said about the ladder, Tyrian ladder, that is very heavy. So you're allowed to move it on Shabbos, but most likely you won't because of its heaviness. Babylonian ladders need not be attached to the ground. My timer, because the heaviness attaches them to their place. Kevidoson kivaton. Sulam is shebebova tzurun kva. Again, because of their heaviness. So they are like Tyrian ladders. Remember, the Egyptian ones were too light, but the Tyrians, and now we see Babylonian one, also they don't have to be attached. Man almost sulam is kol sheken dekolim. So Rabbi Yeshaya said that the Babylonian ladders are considered immovable because of their heaviness. How much most of the kolim, the palm tree trunks, are considered immovable because they are heavier. Palm tree, imagine a piece of trunk of a palm tree. It's very heavy. You need a few people to move it. One was the kolim, and the one who said palm trees sections are considered immovable. Vasulam Isloi holds that ladders, however, are not because they are lighter. So if you say sulam is how much most of that palm trees are reducing. They're not movable and therefore reducing the height. But if you say palm trees only, then maybe ladders are not reducing because they're not as heavy as the palm trees. Correct.
Since that's what it says.
So the Gemara now discusses various methods of extending the width of a ladder. It does not meet the 4 tefachim requirement. We learned that the ladder has to be 4 tefachim, but if it's not, the Gemara will offer ways to make it 4 tefachim. If you place a ladder here against the wall and a ladder here against alongside it, meaning on the other side, and each ladder was less than 2, maybe not the other side, just one side by side. Alongside means side by side. Kashin ba'emtza, and he fixed straw in the middle.
To make it one, like.
Yeah. To extend the width of the ladder to 4 tefachim. So he has 2 small ladders. Now, so what is the law? Do we regard the ladder as having the requisite width? Amarle, en kacha regil oil boen. The ball of the foot cannot ascend on them. Therefore, the straw rungs are not valid extension. I guess it's not possible to put your foot on these ladders. See, in 40 it says, a person usually climbs a ladder by placing his feet in the middle of the rung. Therefore, since the straw center of the extended rungs cannot support his weight, this is not a proper ladder. Rashi tells it to us. But if you put straw, that's the second diagram. You put straw on both sides, and now the middle part is strong enough to support your weight. And a narrow ladder was in the middle. Now, what is the law? The ball of the foot can ascend on them. So the straw rungs are valid extension.
So wait a minute, okay, where is he putting, okay, on the second one where he has the ladder is one behind the other.
He explained that generally people always put their weight in the middle.
I understand that part.
In the middle. So in the second option, he put the straws on the side, and therefore the middle part is where somebody was going to climb, and it will be
so he's putting
feasible.
He's putting the string like over a rung, tying it up with on the rung.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see the diagram, the difference between the first one and the second one.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
But wasn't that clear where the straw was, or the string was? Second one.
If one carved out rungs in the wall to complete the width requirement for a ladder, to what height must he extend the rungs of the ladder? So he created a rung in the wall to complete the width requirement of a ladder. So how much? To what height must he extend the rungs of the ladder? To the height of 10 tefachim. Rabbi said it. Rabbi said to a height of 10 tefachim. Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi, if one carved out an entire ladder in the wall, to what height must he carve out rungs that measure 4 tefachim in width? He must carve out rungs 4 tefachim wide for the entire height of the wall. What is the difference between the previous two cases? Rabbi said to him, there where a ladder reaches the top of the wall, it's easy to ascend, even though the upper portion of the ladder is narrow. However, here, where rungs are carved into the wall, it is not easy to ascend, and a width of 4 tefachim is required for the entire height of the wall. So the difference between the two is one is comfortable, it's easy, and one it's not. If one made a tree into a ladder, now what is the law? If the tree considered a portal which allows the two chatzeros to join in a mutual eruv, even though one may not climb a tree on the Shabbos.
Should never.
So climbing a tree on Shabbos or Yom Tov was prohibited by a rabbinical decree, lest one break off a branch of the tree, which action involves a rabbinical prohibition, melacha of koitzer, reaping, including the rabbinical prohibition, is any use of the tree, even the removal of object from it, lest while doing so, one lean on the tree.
How do you start this question of it, to make it a ladder from a tree? If it's not okay to climb a tree on Shabbat.
So if you see, it says, is the tree considered a portal which allows the two chatzeros to join in mutual, even though one may not climb the tree on Shabbos? So Tibal Rabbi, you may inquire in reference to the view of Rabbi, who permitted an Eruvin Tchumen to be placed on a tree. So they based it on the permission that the Rabbi gave to place the Eruvin Tchumen. You know, when you want to walk more than 2,000 amas, extra 2,000 amas, you're allowed to, according to Rabbi, you're allowed to place it on a tree. Tibol Rabban, and you may inquire in reference to the view of the sages, who prohibited Eruvin Tchumen to be placed in a tree. So your question is only according to the rabbis' view, because they said you're not allowed to put Eruvin Tchumen on the tree. So how can you ask if you can use a tree for reducing the wall, reducing the height of the wall? So Tibal Rabbi, and you can also ask question Rabbi, why? When did Rabbi said that you're allowed to place the Eruvin Tchumen on a tree? Something that is not prohibited something activity that is prohibited on Shabbos by rabbinical law. So he didn't decree, was not forbidden. So he said it's rabbinical. So therefore I'm allowing to place the Eruvin Tchumen on the tree. And when did he say that you're allowed to do it? Only when it was Ben Hashmoshes, twilight period, not true with Shabbos. However, to suspend rabbinical law for the entire day was not said. Therefore, since the tree cannot serve as a portal. You cannot use the tree as a platform for the entire Shabbos. It cannot allow the Chatzeros to join in a mutual Eruv. So that's a question on Rebbe. Perhaps even according to the sages, the two Chatzeros may join in a mutual Eruv because Pitcho, the tree, is nonetheless a portal which connects the two Chatzeros, ve'ayu derevi ale, only that a lion crouches upon it, and someone can sit on it. Therefore, it says in 15, the lion refers to the rabbinical prohibition against using trees on Shabbos, using trees on the Shabbos. Rav Yosef suggests that this prohibition is viewed as only an incidental impediment, preventing access to the other chotzer via the tree, but not intrinsically affecting the status of the tree as a portal. Indeed, if an actual lion was crouched at a portal, preventing entry through it, this would not cause the portal to lose its legal status. So the Gemara tells us that you can inquire in reference to the view of the sages that says you're not allowed to use the tree for Eruv Tchumim. So how come over here they even asked the question that to use a tree as reducing the height of the wall? And you can ask the question also on Rabbi, because you can say Rabbi permitted to use the food, to use the tree, to place Eruv Tchumim on it, because it's only Shvus, rabbinical law. And he said was not Legozu Olo, was not forbidden. Removing objects such as an Eruv Tchumim from a tree, he said Legozu Olo, they did not decree. Hanemile ben Hashmoshes. And when you're allowed to do it, Rabbi held, in number 10, it says, Rabbi held that since the prohibition against using a tree is only rabbinical, it does not apply during the twilight period, when it is uncertain if the Shabbos has begun. So he ruled that an Eruv placed in a tree is valid. Why? For since the Eruv takes effect during twilight, it must be accessible only at that time. So he says you're not allowed to take the Eruv Tchumim from the tree on Shabbos. You're allowed to place it there before during twilight, so it's uncertain, and then say, okay, if it is Shabbos, then Shabbos kicks in, and since it was fine at the beginning of Shabbos, it continues to be fine throughout the whole Shabbos. However, to suspend the rabbinical law for the entire day was not said. The existence of a portal allows the Ruach HaTzerus to merge the two courtyards into one domain. However, if the object intended as a portal lacks the potential to be used the entire Shabbos day, like a tree, you can't use it during the day, it can be considered a portal, even during twilight, where the Eruv takes effect. So that's why it's a question to Rabbi, why is this question of using a tree as reducing the height of a wall, is even a question of Rabbi, because you cannot touch it the whole Shabbos. How does it help me, this tree? And you can say, even Rabbanon, according to the rabbis, it's going to be a question. Pitcho, a tree is not only a portal, but it's Ari, meaning it's a portal that a lion sits there. Obviously you cannot go there. So Rav Yosef poses another related question. If we rule that an ordinary tree, if you would say that an ordinary tree can serve as a portal, the one made an Asherah tree that was designated for idol worship, into a ladder. Now, what is the law? Meaning you have a ladder now, but the ladder was made from Asherah, and we know they're not allowed to benefit from Avodah Zarah. Since one derives personal benefit from an Eruv Chatzeros, Menashe serve as a portal. Tibal Rabbi Yehuda, you may inquire in reference to the view of Rabbi Yehuda, who permitted Eruvin Techumin to be placed on a tree, on a grave, even though a grave is forbidden from benefit. Tibal Rabbon, you may inquire in reference to the view of the sages also, who prohibited Eruvin Techumin to be placed on a grave. Tibal Rabbi Yehuda, you may inquire in reference to the view of Rabbi Yehuda as follows. Ad Kanogam Rabbi Yehuda also, well, only there did Rabbi Yehuda say the Mutar Knesbayis B'Surah know that it is permissible to acquire a dwelling place, a symbolic one, as in the case of an Eruv who objects with objects forbidden from benefit, such as a grave. Aval also the Konol Eruv, because there, after the Eruv has taken effect during twilight, the owner is indifferent to the safeguarding of the Eruv food at the gravesite, since his only benefit from the gravesite was the extension of his tchum, an additional 2,000 amos, which is not considered a benefit in the legal sense. One is therefore permitted to place his Eruv on a grave. However, since an Eruv Echatzeres confers personal benefit, so Eruv Tchumen is not treated as personal benefit, and Eruv Chatzeros is treated as personal benefit. And a Asherah tree may not be used as a portal to enable the Eruv to function. Or perhaps, even according to the sages, the two Chatzeros may join in a mutual Eruv because Pischahu, the tree, is nonetheless a portal which connects the two Chatzeros. Only that a lion crouches upon it. Therefore, the Chatzeros may join in a mutual Eruv, even though one may not derive benefit from the Asherah tree. Rabbah replies to this. Omar Lei, Rabbah said to him in response to these two queries, Ilan Mutav Asherah Asuro, an ordinary tree is permitted to serve as a portal between two Chatzeros, but an Asherah is prohibited. So he says in 29, since you're allowed to use it during the week, since it's permissible during the week, we view the Shabbos prohibition against its use only an incidental encumbrance, not affecting the tree's legal status as a portal. That's the explanation of the Ritva. But Asherah is even during the week prohibited. That challenges this ruling. Regarding the tree, since it is a sabbatical prohibition that causes it to be inaccessible, we should prohibit its functioning as a portal. However, regarding the Asherah, since it is a different prohibition, unrelated to the Shabbos laws, that causes it to be inaccessible, we should not prohibit its functioning as a portal. When Ravin came from Etzisrael to Babylonia, he said, in the name of Bilozor anything that is sabbatical prohibition caused to be inaccessible, the reason why it's inaccessible is because of Shabbos prohibition, also is prohibited from functioning as a portal to connect to Chatzeros. However, anything that a different prohibition caused, like the Asherah tree, a different prohibition caused to be inaccessible, mutar is permitted to function as a portal. The Gemara cites a third opinion on the subject. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masnei Yochid. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak taught thusly: Ilan plukta the Rabbi Rabban. Concerning the question of a tree, it is a dispute between Rabbi and the rabbis. Asherah plukta the Rabbi Yehuda Rabban. Concerning the question of Asherah tree, it is a dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis. So regarding a tree, is machlokes between Rabbi and Rabbanan, dispute between Rabbi and the rabbis, and regarding a Asherah tree, which is a Avodah Zarah tree, it's a dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the rabbis.
So it's like teku. I mean, there's no resolution to this.
Usually halacha follows the rabbis.
Okay, fine.
35 says, Rabbi Nachman holds that as long as the tree is accessible during the twilight period, when the Eruv takes effect, it can serve as a portal and the Eruv Chatzero is valid. But remember, we're not looking, if you think about it, we're not trying to use the tree, the climate on Shabbos. All we want to say is that the tree is as a portal, and therefore the two chatzerot are one chatzer, and we can make an eruv to make it one chatzer, make it one area. So I don't have to use the tree on Shabbat. I just have to say that the tree is good. The tree is valid as a portal. If the tree is valid, then I can make a new chatzeros and then transfer between the two chatzerot. You not necessarily have to use the wall.
Okay.
So that's what Rav Nachman holds that the sages who prohibit the use of a gravesite for the placement of Eruvin Tchumin, because the gravesite thereby confers benefit, would also prohibit using an Asherah as a portal for the same reason. This is true even though the prohibition against Asherah is unrelated to Shabbos law. However, Rabbi Yehuda, who permits the placement of Eruvin Tchumin on a gravesite because he says that even for personal benefit when the Eruv food will be eaten, would also permit the use of an Asherah as a portal. However, this interpretation is difficult since the Gemara above concluded even Rabbi Yehuda would prohibit the use of a gravesite for an Eruv if some personal benefit would result, and as much as Eruvin Chatzeros may be made for the personal benefit of the resident, use of an Asherah to effectuate the Eruv, to make it effectual, to make it effective, should be prohibited. Those explained of Nachman in fact disputes the conclusion of the Gemara above. Okay. With that, we'll start a new Mishnah. Choritz sheben beis chatzeros. Up till now, we spoke about a wall between two chatzeros. What happens if we have a ditch between two chatzeros? Amar kiyud v'rochav daled, and the depth, it's 10 deep, 4 width, 4 wide.
Right.
Me'ovin shnayim. They, the residents of two chatzeros, may join in two independent eruvs.
It doesn't matter if it's up or down.
Let's see, yeah. Ve'ein me'ovin echod, but may not join in one common eruv. Because think about it, if the case of a wall, in case of a ditch were exactly the same, they would say a wall and a ditch. Kotel and charitz, but saying separate Mishnah for charitz. So it has to be some kind of difference between the two. So they, the residents of two chatzeros, may join in two independent eruvs. Ve'in ma'ovin echod, but may not join in one common eruv. What does it show? That the ditch is separating the two. Therefore, they have to have two separate eruvim. May not join in one common eruv. Afilu molekash teven. Even if the ditch is filled with stubble or straw. Mole ofo tzoros. However, if it is filled with earth or pebbles, they can make one eruv. They don't need to make two eruvims. So if it's filled with teven, with straw, stubble, it's not good enough. They still have to make two eruvim. But if it's filled with dirt, earth or pebbles, they can make one eruv. No sanolov, if one placed over the ditch.
But then he said he can't
We're
make
learning for Shlomo Daniel Ben Simcha. How those in the for Shlomo. You hear anything? Speak to his wife or anything.
So wait, here, yeah. Here it says, but may not make, it can have one arrow, one common arrow, but not two independent arrows, joining two independent arrows.
Good, so that shows that it's one area. Because of the ditch is filled with pebbles, it shows that one area, and therefore you need one eruv.
Okay.
Remember, you need two eruvim when there's a clear distinction between the two chatzeros.
Right.
When you're camouflaging that separation between two chatzeros, then one eruv would be sufficient to include all of them.
But it can't be with crap stuff.
Why? Because if you put a straw, the ditch is still there.
Right, so it's still a choke. But if you fill it with the dirt, then you're mavattling the ditch.
Yeah, no sanolov, if one placed over the ditch, neser shochar bat tfachim, a board that is 4 tfachim wide. This is common in New York City. Many times they do work on the roads, so they can't finish the work in one day. Takes them sometimes a week. So every time, at night time, they put a metal plate, very thick,
If you're lucky, it takes a week.
and they cover the pit with this metal plate. So over here, the guy did something. He put a neser, which is a board, 4 tfachim wide. V'chen basic gzuzotrois, zu keneged zu. Similarly, 2 balconies whose sides face each other precisely. They are bridged with a 4 tfachim board. If your house, let's say my house and your house, and we both have a balcony, and we have small space, so I'm putting a board in between to make it one balcony, to give access from one balcony to the other. 2 balconies whose side face each other precisely, that are bridged with 4 tfachim board. Ma'ov and Shnayim, they may join in 2 independent eruvs. If they desire, they may join in 1 mutual eruv.
So they're putting the board across the road, the ditch, from one balcony to the other, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's a different case.
A
A
different
case
case,
of
okay.
balconies is they're side by side, they're close to each other, and you put a board, and now it makes it 1 reshus, and therefore you need to put 1 eruv.
But, you didn't say this one, the change day, we didn't get there yet? We're similarly 2 balconies whose sides face each other precisely.
The diagram B.
Yeah, so there's no eruv, there's no ditch involved in this case.
Okay, no, all right, no ditch. All right, it's just so you can put the board across from one balcony to the other. No.
Correct. Yeah. So he says, and he put a neser. He put similar idea that are bridged with a 4 tfachim board. You see it? That are bridged with 4 tfachim board. Me'ovin Shnayim, they may join in 2 independent eruvs. Ve'im rotzu me'ovin echad, they choose whatever they want. Or if they desire, they may join in 1 mutual eruv. Why? Because the board serves as a portal connecting the 2 areas. Pachos mikam, but if the board is less than this, less than 4 tfachim wide, then they only have 1 option to do 2 eruvs. They may join in 2 separate eruvs, but may not join in 1 common eruv because the board is too narrow to serve as a portal. Okay, so the Mishnah is giving us 2 cases. Case of a ditch, you have 2 options, either to fill it up with dirt or fill it up with straw. If you did fill it up with straw, it's not. You still have to make 2 eruvin. If you filled up with dirt, you can make 1 eruv. And with the case of a balcony, you have 2 options. Either with 2 eruvs or 1 eruv, unless the board is too narrow, less than 4 tfachim, then you have to do 2 eruvin. Our Mishnah taught that if the ditch is filled with stubble or straw, its status as a partition is not nullified. The Gemara questions, "V'teben lo chayitz," and does straw not fill in the ditch? Ranan tenan, we learned in a Mishnah, "Mesabin sheben shtei chatzeros," if a haystack between 2 chatzeros. You know what's a haystack?
Yeah.
It's like
It's a pile of straw. It's then you fill you feed the cows or whatever.
you have a field that they make. They grow hay for animals. Okay. The good thing about hay that once you plant it once and it grows, you don't have to plant it again. It just grows again. You just cut it, it grows again. Cut it, it grows. So when they cut it, they turn it into cubes or to a big round ones. So when you buy it, you buy it by the cube, and it's like a pressed straw into.
They put in the fields.
Yeah. So you can use it as a wall if you put a few of them.
If you take the ride to the west coast, going across from West Palm, you can see this from West Palm over. You can see it on the road there.
So Valentinan, so the Tevin Lochoitz question mark is straw does not fill the ditch. Valentinan, Misabin Shabin Shtei Chatzeros. If a haystack between 2 chatzeros gover sot tfachim, it's 10 tfachim high, me'ovin shnayim ve'me'ovin echad. The resident of both chatzerot may join in 2 independent eruvs, but may not join in a mutual eruv. What does it show? That this haystack creates a wall, creates a separation, and now you need 2 eruvim. Since the Mishnah ruled that they may not make one common eruv, we see that the straw does interpose between the 2 domains. Similarly, its presence should nullify the partition status of the ditch. See the question?
Yeah.
If it's effective to make a wall and therefore separate the 2 chatzeros, now you need 2 eruvim, it should also be effective to fill the ditch and nullify the 2 chatzeros, make it 1. Regarding partition between 2 chatzeros, everyone agrees that even a temporary barrier is a valid partition. Temporary barrier is a valid partition since, in fact, it separates the chatzeros. That's regarding mechitza. Everyone agrees that it's mechitza. But regarding closing up the hollow of the ditch and rendering it like a level ground, if he abandons the straw by expressly declaring that he has no intention of removing it from the ditch.
It's okay.
Chait. He says, I don't need the straw anymore. Expressly declaring, he has to say, he has no intention of removing it from the ditch. It's going to stay there. It closes up the ditch. But that's something that we didn't learn in the Mishnah. Now the Gemara tells us that there is a way that the stubble or straw will be effective, but he has to declare that it stays there. If not abandon the straw, it does not close up the ditch. Our Mishnah refers to the latter case. If the ditch filled with earth, the ditch is considered permanently filled. And this is true when his intent is unknown. Question mark? What about?
Should also
Have the intent. You should also declare that the dirt is staying there, the earth is staying there. If a house was filled with straw or pebbles, now we're saying these 2 together, straw and pebbles, uvitloi, and he abandoned them. He says, declaring he will not remove them. It stays in the house so that they become a permanent filling of the building. It's part of the building now. But till they become merged with the house. Therefore, the house is considered completely filled. And if a corpse is inside, the tumor rises through the roof, we may conclude from the Mishnah that bitloi en, if you abandon the straw pebbles ein, they are indeed considered permanently in place. Loi bitlo loi, but if you did not abandon the straw and pebbles, they are not considered permanently in place. Why then does the Mishnah rule that pebbles close the ditch even without a declaration of abandonment? Amar Avuna said, Man Tana Oholos, who taught the aforementioned Mishnah and Tractate Eruvin, Rabbi Yossi, it was Rabbi Yossi. However, our Mishnah records a dissenting opinion. Okay, we'll stop here. Welcome to you.
Can I share with you on Dvar Torah?
Of course.
Beautiful.